Hola, hola. How's everything going? Andre here once more for another book review. What am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. You probably guessed already which one it is. I'm wearing the color of the thing, the jade, so that it symbolizes it, and you've probably seen it already on the title. But for the distracted ones, I'm gonna give the full review for Jade Legacy, the third and last book of the Green Bone Saga, written by Fonda Lee. There's so much to talk about. I finished this book recently and I'm bursting to talk about it. For those that don't know, and actually, if you don't know, what are you doing here in this video? Go watch the other two, the ones for Jade War and Jade City. These probably, there's some tags over there that you can click and go watch the videos. Go before you see this one and get all the spoilers. Go watch them and then come back. I'll still be around. So going back to the subject in question, this book, this series, is an Asian urban fantasy. The books were published between 2017 and 2021, so pretty recent. All the books in this trilogy have been nominated for awards, and Jade Legacy has actually won the Locus Award in 2020 and also the Prix Aurora Award. That's a mouthful, Prix Aurora Award. Before I jump into the review, just gonna say I will be spoiling things about book 1 and 2, so if you haven't read Jade City or Jade War, proceed at your own risk. I'll try to not spoil anything about Jade Legacy, but if I can control myself, I will have a warning somewhere, or I will say it verbally before I actually say it. Now that housekeeping is done, let's move on to the synopsis of this book. And if you don't want to hear anything, you read the first two books, you just want to find out if this is good or not, but you don't want to be spoiled, skip to this timestamp, and I'll see you there. For the ones that are sticking around, here we go. Jade, the mysterious and magical substance once exclusive to the Green Bone warriors of Kekon, is now known and coveted throughout the world. Everyone wants access to the supernatural abilities it provides, from traditional forces such as governments, mercenaries, and criminal kingpins to modern players, including doctors, athletes, and movie studios. As the struggle over the control of Jade grows ever larger and more deadly, the Call family and the ancient ways of the Kekonese Green Bones will never be the same. The Calls have been battered by war and tragedy. They are plagued by resentments and old wounds as their adversaries are on the ascent and their country is riven by dangerous factions and foreign interference that could destroy the Greenbone way of life together. As the new generation arises, the clan's growing empire is in danger of coming apart. The clan must discern allies from enemies, set aside bloody rivalries, and make terrible sacrifices. But even the unbreakable bonds of blood and loyalty may not be enough to ensure the survival of the Greenbone clans and the nation they are sworn to protect. And now that we're back, just so you can have a gauge more or less of where I stand with the first two books, I'm gonna put the ratings I gave to Jade City and Jade War next to me and give you some time so you can fully understand everything. And like I mentioned in the other video, in the previous one for Jade War, this book has a lot of potential to reach a 5 or very high score close to a 5. Did you get that? You really thought I was gonna answer that right away? You have to stick around to find out. Let's start our review with the elephant in the room, or in this case, the elephant in the island. And I'm talking about writing style. And the thing about writing style, and the reason why I'm talking about it first, is because there might be a big spoiler for people that don't want to listen to. So, give you a few seconds. Fonda Lee made a huge change in this book. The thing is, Fonda Lee decided to change the writing style for this book specifically, for Jade Legacy, and it stopped being one continuous story to being a sequence of events that spans many, many years. This does not mean that it's a short story book, because it isn't, but at the same time, in this single book, we travel almost or more than 30 years. And of course, the consequence of this is that we see characters go from very young to middle-aged, or characters that were in middle-age to growing quite old very, very fast. And another consequence of this, and I think this might be more personal, more subjective, is that because we're going so fast through everything, I'm started to lose my connection with everything, with the characters, with the plot itself. For me, the book felt like several challenges that the Call family had to overcome, almost like episodes, would be episode 1, one challenge, Call solves it, episode 2, now another challenge, and so on and so forth. And the thing is, even though the challenges were interesting and I was enjoying seeing the Call family solve them, at the same time I wasn't feeling connected because they were just challenges after challenges. It seemed like there wasn't many stakes, or higher stakes. Which is sad because I was really invested in the story, I really wanted it to finish with a big bang, but it kind of didn't. And actually the ending felt very, very rushed. And I felt that it didn't get the proper pacing that it should have had. And again, this is a spoiler, you might want to skip a few seconds, because I want to talk about this a bit. The whole trilogy revolves around the battle between the No Peak and the Mountain clans. And then at the end of everything, it seems like it's solved within a couple dozen pages with a couple shady deals, and that is it. I kind of wish that Fonda Lee would have split this book into two, and that way develop both books more. She could have 2 books, same size as Jade Legacy, but that way it would allow us for a lot more development with everything pretty much. I felt like there were just too many ideas in one pot, because as we explore one idea and we spend time with it, the chapter ends and then bam, we're already so many years after and we're talking about something else completely. I swear, I was getting whiplash every time we finish a chapter and suddenly I have to figure out how much older the characters are and what has happened in between, and it happens so many times. But still, I feel like the core of what Fonda Lee's writing was still there, but this change was just too much for me. So I'm gonna give this category a 3 out of 5. However, the problem with this category is that this change was so drastic that it affected all other categories in some way. And that's what I'm gonna talk about in the next categories. Starting with plot. Talking about plot is bittersweet. Fonda Lee was able, yet again, to surprise me and make me gasp several times. I was mind blown. Like, there were points where I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe this just happened. And this type of situations have happened in all of the books, and I congratulate Fonda Lee for that. I think it can only be done when you feel like this could have never happened, but then looking back and reading again, you actually see all the pieces being put together to get this where it needs to go. I thought it was brilliant. However, regarding the plot itself, because this was more plot twists, regarding the plot itself, it felt a bit meandering. I felt like we were just jumping between different small arcs, and some of them felt very similar to previous arcs of the previous books. But then again, like I said, I feel like this is partially related to the writing style, because if we had split this book in 2 and explored more some of those arcs, I wouldn't have felt that it was so meandering. As it stands, the plot is like several small pieces, and there's nothing wrong with it. Just for me, I would have rather one big piece of plot, let's say like that. So because of this, it gets a 4 out of 5 for me. Now moving to character, a lot of criticisms here, but then again, they're more a reflection of the writing style rather than the characters themselves. I felt like the characters were divided in 2 different groups. We had the old guard with Hilo, Shay, Wen, Endon, etc. I feel like the old guards, I really felt connected with, and I loved following them all the time. And even though I criticized the writing style, I actually loved seeing them age, for the ones that do and for the ones that don't. But the young guards, especially Nico and Rue, I didn't really feel as connected. And I think partially it's because we see them grow so fast and we don't have time to connect with them. We barely met them in the second book, and now this book they became really big characters. The characters themselves are still great, don't get me wrong, but I just didn't connect as well with them. But overall, as always, the characters of this series are really what drives this series to success. If you love a character-driven series, this one is for you, for sure. I think that this category has been able to maintain its 5 stars out of 5 throughout the 3 books, and I congratulate it for it. World building is our next category. And I think this one was the one that benefited from the new writing style. Because we travel so much through time and we travel with our characters in so many places because they keep jumping around, we see how the world develops with war, with technology, with cultures. And the good thing is, together with Jade War, the Jade Legacy was able to have some plot happen in foreign countries, which helps us show how people's view of Jade, for example, is, or how the war in other countries is affecting those countries and therefore their perspectives on KCON. The Jade magic system wasn't upgraded or explored further, but at least I felt like it was given the proper attention compared to the second book. This time we had people trying to use it in different ways with new intentions, and I felt that that was what was lacking in the second book. So overall, this book, or World Building, was able to increase its score to a 5-star out of 5. In our final category, enjoyment. Again, this was one of the most bittersweet categories to review. If I took away the writing style part of it, and if it were a writing style like the other two books, I'm 100% sure I would have given it a 5 out of 5. I mean, the book has all the potential for such. I can say that if we had the writing style but took away the plot, the characters, the world building, this book, at least in terms of enjoyment, it would have been a very low score. Because of all of this together, my enjoyment was able to be kept quite high. I was always interested in what was happening next, even if that next meant it was going to be 10 years after the events that had just happened. But at the same time, I wasn't really looking forward to read it, because overall I wasn't finding time to read this book, and I feel it was because I knew I was going to have to readjust over and over again. So overall my enjoyment was going to be, or is going to be, a 4. And those are all our categories for this book. I'll put a summary of what I just said in this video up here, and while I'm at it, I'm going to include the previous two books, Jade City and Jade War. As you can see, overall scores for this trilogy are 4, 4.4, and 4.2. So overall, on average, if we want to rate the whole series, it's a 4.2 out of 5, which in itself is an amazing score. It's more than a 4. If we round it, it would be a 4. But the sad thing is, I felt like this series had so much potential, it could easily have gotten to average much higher. But as you can see, and as I mentioned, the character category was able to maintain a 5 out of 5 in all 3 books. This shows that this series has some brilliant characters to be attached to. And the world building steadily increased throughout the series. You can see that Fonda Lee really invested in creating this world and deepen it as the books progress. So there are definitely some gems in this book. Get it? Some gems, like Jade. But overall, Fonda Lee is able to give us a modern portrayal of our society through the lens of the Green Bone Saga. She shows us how the outside world sees KCON, how old ways and new ways clash in a battle of wills, and how devastation just keeps breeding devastation unless someone stops it. It is a sad portrayal of the world, and it's sad because it's true. You see so much of our world in this series. But anyways, I don't want to end up in a bad note, so let's cheer up. Let's think that this still was an amazing series, and I definitely recommend you read it. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and let me know, what is the score you give to the whole series out of 5? Comment down below, and please let me know what you want me to read next. I'm definitely curious in reading more things. And I'm actually curious, are the short stories worth reading? Comment down below that too, please. For the ones that are new, welcome, bem-vindo. And subscribe if you like the content, and like the content, and I'll be seeing you soon, okay? Ciao!